Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 107 of Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, Professor Jeremy Vollmer, and joining us now, Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B, Bobby Blaze.
Hey, man, it's good to be BB today. That's right, because I'm talking to... Oh, wait a minute, Professor. I'm sorry, man. I thought I was talking to the sexiest bald man alive. You came close, didn't you?
Are you saying that there's somebody sexier and balder than me?
I don't, Prince William's what they're saying? I don't know. I don't believe that bunch of crap anyway. You still get my vote.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I do appreciate it. I mean, I don't know how well to take that, you'd vote for me over some inbred Englishmen, but I'll take it as a compliment, I'm sure, in the manner it was given.
Take the compliments when you're giving them to him because, it's good to be double A, Arn Anderson, the Enforcers, number one talent enhancement BB,
Exactly.
So let's just have fun with it. Welcome back, wrestling fans out there. Got the good professor over there. Yours truly, Bobby Blaze, over here. One thing I'm going to throw it at you there, Jeremy, real quickly, is this time of year, people get ready for WrestleMania. If you watch it, I hope you enjoy it. I know a lot of people watch. I don't know how it's going to be this year with the Hall of Fame induction, I guess, kind of a virtual Hall of Fame induction type thing. But I want to send a shout out to Kane, Glenn Jacobs. Man's a really good dude, first class all the way, well deserving. Been with that company over about 20 years now, I guess. Went from a little bit of Memphis, Malenko guy when he got sent down there for a little bit. Then he got sent to I think went to Puerto Rico, then Smoky Mountain, and then up to the big show, man. So congratulations, Glenn Jacobs, on your Hall of Fame nomination and getting in there, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Good dude, man. Good dude.
And also a mayor, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah. I was waiting for you to tell me yes. That mayor of Knox County, Tennessee down there, good people down there. And edge of the Smoky Mountains, the Great Smoky Mountains. A lot of good folk down that way. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's all good. And anyway, we're surviving another week out here. Weather-wise, how's everything out there, okay?
It's 75 degrees here today.
Yeah, well, we've been at the 70, and we're getting the winds of March now. It really hasn't been overly windy this time for this month, and it started today. We're getting a cold front coming through in the evenings only. I can handle that, I can't handle losing my power or being frozen in or, these ice storms and shit. But yeah, we're doing pretty good other than the winds blowing. We had a bad rain last night and this morning, but the sunny the rest of the week with some lows down near freezing in the evening. But again, I can handle it evening time because I'm inside. I ain't going out.
Once you're inside and you got blankets nearby, who gives a shit at that point,
Yeah.
It's not like you're having to hunker down in an igloo or something,
Yeah. So anyway, this week we got a kind of not back to our top 10 format per se, but we're going to go back and take a deep dive into a career of a guy. Really, really admired his wrestling ability and skills in the ring, and that's Dick Slater.
Yeah. Now, Dick Slater's one of those guys that I know a little bit, but I don't know probably as much as I should about him.
Yeah.
So I figure we'll take this opportunity for you to kind of catch me up. But, Bobby, real quick before we start here, I want to point out that you and I have started talking about possibly changing the name of the show to something that more focuses on the fact that we're a wrestling show.
Yeah, I was hoping that's what that part of the conversation will lead into. So you come up with a couple names. I wasn't so keen on the old school because I think that's used a lot. Then you would just kind of throw the spaghetti against the wall and see if it sticks, and if it does, it's ready to eat. The old Italian pasta trick there.
Yeah.
But you said big time wrestling, and I liked that, but also prompted me to ask you once we got to speak earlier today was What are we both thinking of? How many times has a big time pro wrestling company not succeeded in the past? And kind of like, well, we got us there, man. What makes us think that me and you could run one and not bury ourselves, you know? But you came up with a pretty good one. I'm looking at the marquee right now. The picture you sent me, it looks like a marquee, and I like this. Fans out there, please, if you feel like it, let us know what you think. We may be settling. We're not settling, but we're thinking about changing the name to It Still Says Wrestling with Bobby Blaze. So the professor came up with that, and I kind of liked that. If you want, hit us up on Twitter at the Geekish Cast. That'll get you the professor. Hit the joint account up at Bell to Bell Blaze, which that may have to change, or my account at Bobby Blaze 744, all on Twitter. But on Facebook, there's also a Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze on there. But what do you all think about wrestling fans? Our fans especially. It still says wrestling with Bobby Blaze. We still talk about a lot of wrestling. A lot of old school, like you said, a lot of big time, but the main thing is the marquee still says wrestling. Yep. And I'm throwing that word marquee in there just for the shits and giggles.
Just to kind of give everybody a peek behind the curtain. I was actually talking to our pal Sparks Third Coast on Twitter this week about some other things in general, but I ran some ideas, some names by him. His first suggestion was the marquee still says wrestling. Mm-hmm. He even did like a quick graphic, and then that's where I started playing with it. And then he suggested, cause I told him I was just like, that's a little too long, I think. And that's when he threw out, It Still Says Wrestling, cause it could be anything. It could be the marquee. It could be a book. It could be,
it could be the handbill. It could be, okay. I can dig it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sparks.
Yeah, so that's a big thank you to him. I like it a lot because not only does it get the word wrestling in there, it kind of takes a jab at sports entertainment too.
Tui. Yeah. Okay, so I like that. I'm easy, I think whatever's best for business, and that's why I'm one of Arn's favorite talent enhancements, because the question was, who's easy to work with? And he said, Bobby Blaze is a good one. Excellent, actually. So, let's kick that around some and see what happens over the next couple of weeks. The main thing is what I was going with when I mentioned Dick Slater, where I was going to go with that, was open that up, that we've got a couple of big-timer, old school that we've done on, bell to bell here in the past that are still pretty popular. One being the two of the most recent being the Bruiser Brody one, a top 10 on that, and also on Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Now, one of our first ones that really caught on was go all the way back to episodes 4 or 5 was Dusty Rhodes. We've done one on him. We've done one on Roddy Piper shortly after that, just some different ones. But some of these most recent ones, of course, the Gary Hart one, people seem to really enjoy that one, that we shared a lot of not so common knowledge about Gary Hart on that podcast. And that really, so that's what I hope we do with this Dick Slater. It may not be necessarily a top 10 format, but it'll be some good information about a talent that's out there we've kind of brought up a couple of times on the show. When I was first starting in wrestling, I was a fan of several different professional wrestlers, of course, but while I was training, one of the things Dean Malenko said was, take about 4 or 5 guys and take 1 or 2 things from each guy that you see them doing really, really good. And then, try to emulate that, if you will. And guys I liked at that time, you'll notice the style here, and that is was Bob Orton Jr., and we'll be talking about him in just a second. He was a partner of Dick Slater's. Dick Slater was another one. Bobby was one, and then I liked Terry Funk, and then of course Harley Race and Flair, the champions and stuff. But mostly I looked at Orton Jr. and who had trained with Gotch and Malenko and teamed with Malenko and traveled with him, and then Terry Funk, and that's who Slater, people say, he emulated him, so it's kind of the same style. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But those were some guys that I liked the way they dropped a knee or a forearm, or the way their body language in the ring when they sold, So that's where I really became a Dick Slater fan early on in my career. Had already liked him. But once I got in the business, I really started, studying some of the stuff he had done in the ring. So that's why I wanted to take a look kind of behind the curtain here, if you will. It still says wrestling, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So where I was headed was like, I know of Dick Slater, heard of Dick Slater. I've seen a few matches with Dick Slater, but I really don't know a whole lot about him. So I figured this is probably a good time for you to, instruct me on the histories of Dick Slater, but let's cover his vitals real quick.
Yeah, please do.
So what I could find out was Dick Slater came in at 6'1", billed at 233 pounds. He was born in 1951 in Tampa, Florida. Somewhere in there, I didn't keep seeing. I saw a couple people said he was from New York, and I was like, there's no way this guy was a Yankee. And then it turned out that it was on Wikipedia and it was wrong. So yeah.
And as far as I know, he's a Tampa boy, true and through. I know he, did amateur wrestling from early age, 8 or 9 years old. So if he was born up there, he moved down shortly thereafter or something. But so Dick Slater, Dirty Dick Slater. I know you like that name. If anyone's named Dirty Dick, you really like that.
Yeah, that is one of his nicknames. Smile on my face. Yeah.
There you go. Mr. Unpredictable. He was very unpredictable. He said himself so many times he would change his mind on a dime, what he would do in the ring, what he'd do outside the ring. If you thought he was going this way, he'd go that. If you thought he was zigging, he was zagging. And also Mr. Universal. I know he went to Robinson High School in Tampa, Florida. And that was one of the that was like the Minnesota up there, the hotbed down in Tampa. There was a lot of good wrestlers that came out of Tampa. We talked about the Minnesota boys. There's a hell of a lot of good Florida boys, and he was in class with a young guy you may have been familiar with, Mike Graham, Steve Kern, and Bob Orton Jr. And that he was in college with, because that was down in South Tampa, about I think it's northeast of Tampa. Is a town called Brandon, and that's where Paul Orndorff was from, and he was known as the Brandon Bull. Well, they ended up going to school together at the University of Tampa, playing football together and on the same football team and wrestling together. So just look at those names, man, and then he said, after he was playing football at the University of Tampa, and they were going to do away with the football program. Well, at that time, he was already training with Hiro Matsuda and Eddie Graham. So when he got a little bit older, so you're running around as a kid, say a freshman, sophomore through high school there, you got that crew, man. Bob Orton Jr., Steve Kern, Mike Graham, and Dirty Dick Slater.
Yeah.
How would you like to run into that crew on a Friday night?
Yeah, that's one I would try to avoid for sure.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah, that's a bunch of fucking roughnecks right there.
Absolutely, man. I think I had to double check this. I think his debut in the ring was 1972, so I just put that in there. He was training at night. Now, I've heard this story several different ways, and so kind of, as you said before the beginning of the story there, or before we recorded there, don't let the truth stand in the way of a good yarn, kind of thing. But rumor is, now I know he was training with Bob Roop and was doing some AAU wrestling, like I said, knew all these guys. But when you listen to different people tell the story, we was talking about the snake pit down there in Florida, and there's no doubt they was just stretching that shit out of everyone in there. Like you said, I think you told about the one guy that Roof ran out there and he's bleeding and had his underwear and came back to the cab to get a policeman brought him back or something.
Yeah.
But they said all that shit stopped when Dick Slater got there because no one was going to get in that ring and stretch him by any means, And that's just pretty funny that he showed up. I know he was just a legitimate natural fighter, they said too. And it said had that. I don't know what you call it. That look on his face, that sour puss, if you will. He always had that look, kind of like a W.C. Fields, been punched one too many times, drank one too many drinks, and just knew not to fuck with him, And that's just his look, man. And I was going to tell a story. I'm going to let you ask some questions or go from here. If I'm going to bring us up to where I was going with that look. I was down in Florida, and the only time I met Slater, I didn't meet Slater. Okay, I'll say it that way. I was over at the Sportatorium on a Tuesday night, and Slater, I'd been there several weeks in a row. Had watched the shows, and then they done a little tryout. Pat Tanaka had some people come over, and I was working for the third match spot on the show, and so I eventually got that spot. But I don't know who booked it or didn't book it, but Slater showed up one night, and he just come into the locker room, and people kind of started mumbling, Slater's in the building. Dick Slater's in the building. Now, I don't know if anyone owed Slater money or Slater owed them money, but he came to Tampa, to the office there, rather, to the Sportatorium, and I was just talking to those just a couple, young guys like myself, just kind of talking, and we just got quiet. Because generally you'd walk around, shake hands, say hello to everyone else. Slater come in, and it looked like he was there to rip someone's fucking head off. And none of the guys on the side I was sitting on got up because we already heard the mumbling. Slater's in the building. Now, I'm telling you, he didn't wrestle. He didn't even stay till the show started. But he was looking for someone. Now, he might have went upstairs and found someone. I'm not sure. He might have walked out with some money. I don't know. But I just know, no one jumped up and, started shaking his hand, and he didn't come around and introduce himself. He was a man on a mission. And I don't know if the Florida office owed him money or what it was, man. But when I met him, I didn't meet him, if that makes sense. We was about 10 feet apart from a hallway to the locker room division there, at little foyer area, and I was like, man, you just knew you don't mess with this guy, and it wasn't the right day to meet him. I'll say that. Whoever he was looking for, I guess he found him because he left, but I'd say he left with something in his pocket. And who knows what. Well,
yeah. Why would you want to catch that guy's attention on that day,
Yeah, it was just he was just, I don't know, man. I thought this out all week. It's just like, as much as I wanted to meet him, just professional courtesy and tell him, hey, man, people I've met through the years, I really admire your work, or, man, just been a fan, or what have you. It's like, that was not the day to tell him that.
Nope.
Anyway, very unpredictable. How's that?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
I'd heard several of the stories, back in the day when he was known for, like I said, barroom brawls and during his wrestling career and stuff. But I guess when he was at the University of Tampa, John Matuszak, who was 1973 NFL first-round draft choice for the Oakland Raiders, I guess he was hitting on a girl that Dick Slater was supposedly seeing, or maybe a girlfriend of Slater's, one of how many, I don't know. But we're going to mention one here in a minute, a couple here in a minute. But anyway, during this time, I guess he just jacked up Matuszak, man, real hard, like. And after he kicked his ass, told him, you're going to write me a letter of apology. Matuszak, for people that don't know, he was a really big guy in the NFL. And hell, anyone to go first draft and play for the Raiders all those years, go look him up. And he also was in the Goonies, for all you people that watched that particular movie. It's one of my mom's favorite movies, by the way. Just a big jacked up guy. But also, I guess Slater went to his room, started knocking on the door, pounding the door probably, and wanting that damn letter of apology. And Matuszak like, just go away, go away. I'm not letting you in. He probably slid the note under the door like, I'm sorry or whatever. So that's one of those wrestling lore things that I've heard through the years that, a lot of guys talk about how tough someone is, and that apparently Slater was that damn tough, Short fuse, too, I guess. Again, unpredictable. Let's see here. You wanted to mention something up top here, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a certain person he went out with.
Well, Dark Journey is the, what would you call that? Like his big find, his big discovery, his big addition to the world of wrestling was,
Journey. Okay. Yeah. My question to you is, I'm going to come back to that with this question. I asked you off the air. We'll be honest with each other. During our whole career, during our entire lives, okay, we referred to this person as Dark Journey. Well, right during my research, I never thought about it once. Have I thought about, hey, Jeremy, you know Dark Journey, you know her real name. Have you ever thought about even looking her up? What's her real name?
If I were to guess, I'd say her real name was Dark Journey.
Exactly. That's what I would have said, too. I was reading some of my resources this week were Slam Magazine, Tampa Tribune, and the Orlando Sentinel, some different articles I found. And I was just reading along, and it said, and in the Mid-South, he brought in a young lady, a former, it said stripper from Atlanta, Linda Newton. And I'm like, what? You know, I mean, I know who, and then it goes on to say, and he took her there, and she become Dark Journey. And I guess it was, controversy at the time, unpredictable at the time. Here's a white guy out in the Mid-South with a African-American black lady, and her name's Dark Journey. But I never thought, okay, who is Linda Newton? That'd be one of our Jeopardy questions like last week, I just found that funny the way I was reading the article, and it's like, what? But it said, Atlanta stripper Linda Newton, and took and made her famous as Dark Journey. So I think you had a question about that too, that you've seen some interviews between Dark Journey may have been talking to another wrestler or two.
Okay. So, getting ready for this week's episode, I came across, the one I came across was Tracy Smothers.
Yeah.
Telling a story. And sometime I think we may have to do an episode about him just so you can tell me more about Tracy Smothers, the person. But
yeah,
this guy, Tracy's like talking to these reporters and he keeps asking questions like, are you guys old enough to remember what kayfabe is? Stuff like this. But he goes, okay, so this is worth he said something like, this will be worth the price of admission or something. He goes, but Dick Slater whipped the shit out of Sting one time in whatever year it was. A rumor was, or something was going on, that Sting and Dark Journey were up to some kind of shenanigans, and Dick Slater was not real happy about that.
Right.
Apparently put a beating on Sting and then gave him a swirly is the story I got.
I've seen that one with Tracy. I've heard it on Corny's show, him talking about it, because he was in the area at that territory at the time, and also Flair on a Stone Cold project. He just said a mutual friend of ours. They didn't call Sting out on it, but he said so I heard that this just. The two versions are, one, she either was late and missed a ride, so Sting gave her a ride or something, or Slater was running late and didn't pick her up. I don't know, but it could have been something as simple as that, but he got to the building and found Sting. But also there might have been a few things going on between the two, and I don't know and don't really give a fuck at this point. But the point is that Slater went over there. I'm going to let you add who held someone back. I think you like that part of it too. But Slater apparently went over to the babyface locker room and just knocked the fuck out of Sting and stuck his head in the toilet and gave him a swirly, man. And I guess he come back to the other locker room saying, I just knocked one of those big road looking fuckers out over there, and the blonde hair one or something like that. So as we know, there's two of them out in that area at that time who could have roided up. Who's the other one?
Well, the other one would have been Jim Hellwig, a.k.a. the Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior, the Dingo Warrior. But apparently he was ready to go and jump on Dick Slater, and then so Dick Murdoch underhooked him. And
I hadn't heard it to this week. That's pretty funny. Murdoch. That's just two guys. And let's go ahead and jump down. They were eventually a tag team, the Hardliners. Yeah. You got them, we'll talk about, just different parts of his career, but the Hardliners, man, you look at Dirty Dick Murdoch and Dirty Dick Slater and look at them two mugs together. I don't know anyone in rifle mind and want to fuck with either one of them, let alone both of them together.
Yeah. First off, that was a missed opportunity. They should have just called that tag team the Dirty Dicks.
Oh, God.
I don't want to say they dropped the ball, but somebody dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were just two bruiser looking fuckers, you put just look at them and then look at Sting and Warrior, right?
Yeah.
You got two dudes that look like they spend all day on Venice Beach looking in a mirror. And then two guys that look like they're just standing behind a bar drinking everybody's leftover drinks and trying to pick up all their girlfriends. And just the idea that those two guys just, snatch those fuckers up like that. Yeah.
But, we was talking about Atlanta there earlier, too. There's another story, as a bizarre incident. Wahoo shot Dick Slater in the leg, man. And, so I've heard this story, so I went and looked it up, and, of course, there's several versions out there. Pretty much what I'm going to tell you is what I've heard to be the most reliable. But Slater was in just an Atlanta establishment with Wahoo, Tommy Rich, and Andre Giant. Supposedly, someone said something to Tommy Rich's wife. I heard that's what it started with. And, Rich was, maybe a little under the influence or whatever. And anyway, the guy pulled out a knife. I guess when they got to the parking lot or something, the guy pulled out a knife. But I guess Wahoo kind of like flanked around and he had his gun. And somewhere in the scuffle, when Wahoo got his gun out, it went off. Because he was, I guess Wahoo, I know Tommy didn't get involved too much. He might have been talking or stuttering or whatever he was doing. But apparently Wahoo was pistol whipping a guy at this point that pulled the knife out and the gun went off. Well, a stray bullet hit Slater in the leg, okay? And I think it went right above the knee, like just in and out real, as the bullet would obviously be very fast, but it didn't do any major damage because he was wrestling again in 3 weeks, if that tells you anything. How tough the son of a bitch is. Yeah. But anyway, and you couldn't get by with this stuff nowadays. No way. But Slater's report was to the police. Wahoo said he didn't fire a gun, didn't know anything about a gun. No one else saw a gun, and they asked Slater how what happened. He goes, a sniper shot me. He said, it was over that direction, some snipers up there, and the police just knew who the boys were. I think it's around 83. I don't know the exact year, but during that time, before you had cameras everywhere and cell phones everywhere, and policeman is taking word of Slater wasn't going to press charges or anything, so it's like, okay, what sniper? Okay. See you later, guys. Have a good evening. Go get that taken care of, Mr. Slater.
What's funny is
I thought that's pretty funny, man.
Yeah, there's a guy out in the parking lot who's a bloody mess, and he's going to talk with a stutter the rest of his fucking life. And nobody will hey, did you see a sniper out here?
Yeah. Oh, so that's pretty, but anyway, he actually, just shows how tough he was, one of the many things he's overcome. But again, he's out there fighting, like you said, him and Murdoch, being at the end of the bar, drinking everyone's drink kind of thing. That would be, don't go down there and mess with them two guys. Hell, he actually gets shot in the leg and he's back in the ring in 3 weeks. Also, I know he was in a very bad car wreck. They say it should have, that's where his real back problem started. And we'll finish up later on about his last big run. But said it should have been a career ender, actually, and he had a real bad head injury from that. Now, there's 2 versions of this. He was a big Terry Funk fan, okay? And if you watch Slater, he emulated Terry Funk all the time. He would have a Terry Funk match, They said he come out of the head with that head injury thinking he was Terry Funk. Now, that could be myth or not, because Funk said in his book, well, he always was just a big goofy fucker anyway, and that's the way Dickie, ever since I've known him, that's the way he walked and that's the way he wrestled in the ring. It's just, if that's giving me credit for that style, then thank you, but Terry Funk felt otherwise. But some of the, what's his name, couple promoters, said just go out there and, have your match, not a Terry Funk match. And apparently that's the way he just wrestled, though. That's just that style, man, that laid back until you get on them. And then when you get on them, you get on them, Yeah.
Well, it's at some point, if you've been wrestling in a certain style for a period of time, that's how you wrestle, whether or not it reminds you of somebody else, right?
Yeah. and I love those styles, man. Like I said, just the way they sold. I mean, Slater, he would sell during a match. You just a lot like Funk. Again, it could be Terry Gordy, the big man, selling back too. Again, Bob Orton Jr. Some of the guys, just the way they sold certain things, putting their opponent over. Funk and Lawler, for example, when he took a big back bump, and then he go all the way up in his head and end up taking a belly flop. It's just a overextension of a bump, man, that just only they could do. Going through that second rope, if you see Dick Slater has his top, has his hand on that top rope and his butt's on that second rope, and he would just go through and hit that floor like it was just one fluid motion that just looked, like it looked real. You know what I'm saying? There was no hesitancy about, okay, I'm going to hit that concrete floor with all my weight, but the bottom line is he did it in a way that it just looked like he just got the living shit knocked out of him. For the fans, of course, selling it, and then, of course, making a comeback or cut off or doing whatever he did from there. So it's just a style he had, man. I was going to mention he was in the first Starrcade. He teamed with Bob Orton Jr., and they defeated Wahoo and Mark Youngblood. And that was 83. So that might have been around the time they was all hanging out together there, man.
Can you imagine, hold on, you imagine walking into a bar, and we're not even going to say like you recognize them, but you walk into a bar and there's fucking a giant, an Indian, fucking a pretty boy from fucking the Partridge Family, and some fucking redneck standing there drinking, and one of their wives is there, and that's the chick you're going to walk up and fucking talk to? And there's Tommy Riggs over there. Somebody say something about fucking my wife, and then shit just goes bad.
I think that might have been Terry running his mouth. That's Tommy running his mouth. That could be. He could have said, you over wanting to mess around with my wife, and I mean, but think about that lineup you just now gave. You walk into is this a joke? You walk into a bar, you see a giant, an Indian, a redneck, and a pretty boy. I mean, okay, where's the priest and rabbi? What kind of bar is this? Is it a Star Wars bar? You see all these different.
Just the idea of walking in and seeing that, I just turn around and leave. I'd be like, no, I don't know what the fuck's going on at this place, but I think it's a fetish bar now, and I'm out of here.
Well, it said establishment, so I don't know if it was, I don't know if it's down at the Marriott at the bar down at the Marriott South. I used to stay down there myself a lot. That's where all the boys stayed at, down south of the airport there. Or if it was at an adult establishment with adult entertainers like Dark Journey, I don't know. But I would imagine it's just a bar, because you got Andre there, Wahoo. Like I said, these guys just out. I don't know if they necessarily were going out for adult entertainment. They were just going out for their own pleasure of, hey, man, we've had a rough day, traveled a lot, got our business done. It's time to kick back a few beers and tell wrestling stories, and not be fucked with, or let's not fuck with anyone and see what happens. And this is what happens. Mm-hmm. That's why if you see a fight on the side of the street or the side of the road, jump out and get involved. That way you're not going to be killed as an innocent bystander, Jeremy.
That's a very solid point. A very solid point.
Okay. Anywhere you want to go from there, man?
Let's see.
I know we've got a couple other places to talk about that he ended up wrestling. I mean, he wrestled all over. He booked a lot of places. That was the other thing. He was a booker in a lot of different places. He booked, I think, up there in Atlanta for that northern part of it at one point. I know the two times that when he left, he wrestled. Not to get too far ahead of myself, but he wrestled in the WWF or WWE, and one of them said he wrestled as a rebel there. But I think they were in Portland. This is when he lived in Florida. Of course, as far as I know, he lived in Florida his whole life. But he done like 88 days straight for like WWF, and he just got on a plane and went home. And I can't remember who the agent was, one of the Briscoes, whoever. They called him up and like, where you at? Pat Patterson, where you at? He goes, I was going crazy out there. He goes, I just had to come home and go fishing. I'm gone fishing. And he left another territory. I'm not sure which one it was. It might have been, early on. And he might have been after Mid-South. I don't know. But he went on the road so many days in a row, he said. This was according to either the article in the Tampa Tribune or the Orlando Sentinel. He just said it was just crazy out there on the road. And he said, I just needed a break. And I come home to Florida and went fishing. And I know that travel can wear you out like that. But, you're going to see that guy getting so burnt out there that it's just time to get on a plane, probably because he's about ready to kill someone, literally, and he just got on a plane and went back to Florida and either got out on a dock or got on a boat or chartered a boat or whatever and went fucking fishing, just to get away from that business, So that's a lot of time out there on the road.
Oh, that's how one of the Briscoes quit too,
Yeah. He flew. I guess he flew into they were up in New York, or they just flew in from Tampa, and flew in. It was cold, either rainy or snowy or whatever. Got off one plane, walked right through the tarmac, and guess he's smoking a cigarette or something. And it was Jack, and he told his brother, he said, tell him I'm done. And he went over and bought another ticket and returned right back to Tampa and never looked back. That's the amazing thing. Never looked back. He just had enough of it, and what a way to go, right? You just on top, but you're just tired of it, and just go home.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if they was in JFK or if they was up in Connecticut or where it actually took. I know it was a northern town, and that was like the first day to loop back, and just got off of one plane, go buy a ticket, went right back home, man.
I'm going to go work on transmissions. I've had it with this shit.
Exactly, man. Exactly. We mentioned the headliner with Dick Murdoch. I had I put the J-Tex Corporation. He was a part of that. Slater was part of that with Gary Hart, man. And remember, Gary Hart will cut a bitch. And if you don't believe me, go back and listen to a prior episode because we talked about that. But this is a pretty crazy group right here, too. The J-Tex Corporation with Gary Hart as a manager. Very, very talented Muda, okay? Hard-headed, thick-headed, roughhouse, Buzz Sawyer out there fighting. Terry Funk and Slater. And they said Slater worked mostly to make events when Funk couldn't be there. I'm thinking he was doing some filming at that time for one of the Stallone movies and was in and out of the set during that time. But that's a pretty good little crew, man, for Gary Hart to have. And we know it's not a stable or a family in this conversation. As we mentioned with Heenan, it's a family. With the Southern guys, they got a stable, Mm-hmm. But Gary Hart, he's got a fucking corporation. The Japanese, Texan, that connection between Japan and Texas, man. The class of Gary Hart of this is a J-Tex Corporation when you're working for me. That's pretty classy when you think about it. Got those all heavy hitting heels right there, man.
Yeah, that's a good grouping right there. Just, smash face, fucking run at him and go, Yeah, Gary, still, I think like if we ever get a shirt, it's just going to have to say Gary Hart will cut a bitch. And that's the bell to bell shirt,
Yeah. That's it, man. A lot of people comment on that podcast. It's several podcasts back, but you can find it in our archives, man. If you want to go look it up. I do know that. I was going to say the next, this is, I think his career ended around 96. I think it was he had an injury. I know he got an injury. I think it was Gainesville, Georgia. I know he was working for WCW at the time. I'm not sure if it was when he was under Colonel Robert Parker, who we know as Robert Fuller, of course, and his cousin Jimmy Golden, aka Bunkhouse Buck. So I know they had a little. We'll call that I don't know what stable or what the good Colonel there. And I thought, man, Robert Fuller done a hell of a job pulling off that gimmick. That was a good gimmick, man. had that big white hat and the cane, and just doing the whole Colonel Parker deal, man, was really pretty cool. But I think there was a couple more people in his little group there, but I can only think of Jimmy Golden, who at that time was doing a Bunkhouse Bunk gimmick, and Dick Slater here. But Slater, I think, took a bad bump. Just hurt his back even worse than what it had been hurting, and I think that was '96, and that was just the end of his career. One of the times he probably just went home and went fishing, if he could even fish then. I don't know that. You know what I'm saying? Because he was in such pain. That's kind of really the only other thing I wanted to say was, and you'll probably remember this, you may get a kick out of it, and then I've got a couple shout outs or if answering questions if I've left out anything. But if you recall this, one of the clashes of '89, of course, the clashes were on TBS, and that's Turner Broadcasting. I guess they didn't do a whole lot of micromanaging of the wrestling programming. They had the wrestling programs on there. They knew what they had. But one of the clashes in '89 is where I guess Funk was involved in this with. I know he was involved in it, but it was the Slater, and they put the plastic bag over Flair's head and hung him, and that was just like a little bit too much. So I guess they had to back up something there. That to me is like, oh, we can let them do all these other things, but you don't put a plastic bag on someone's head. So it's catching up the time, so to say, like time to maybe, let's see what the hell's going over here in this WCW division. What exactly are we doing when the phone lines are lighting up on a Sunday evening that you got two guys on TV and are putting a bag over someone's head? Maybe not getting the proper viewership. It's your sponsor that you want for that particular episode,
Well,
whether it be Snickers or whoever.
You could probably get like a plastic manufacturer and a rope company.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. But I'd say some of your major ones are like pulling out big time. Like we can't be. You imagine that now today though. Oh my God! We was talking last week about cancel culture. I mean, damn, they'd be canceled, like don't watch these guys anymore or something, or social media like it is, be buzzing up and blowing up or what have you. But anyway, man, I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions about Slater that I might have left off the research we've done.
When you say he was one of your favorites, and you're talking about his like in-ring style that you liked. What were some specific things you actually took from his style and incorporated into yours?
Just the way he sold back sometimes. And again, you can see it in a couple others, like a lot of people more probably seen Funk and also the way, if you come off the ropes, there's a certain way. Say I just slammed a guy. I love this. Slater would slam a guy and then have his hand near the top rope and walk over to give the guy a big stomp to the head. Now, that's an old Malenko thing, that Malenko stomp they used to do. Garvin took even. Mm-hmm. But the way he did that was really picture perfect. It looked like he was stomping a guy's head in. Then another one is the same thing. You slam him and you back up and hit the rope. And even Orndorff did this and overdid it. And Road Dogg paid homage to it. In WWF or what have you, hit that rope and then spin your arm around and drop that forearm across her throat. If you watch Slater, Orndorff, and Funk, when they have a guy down and they drop that forearm, they get right above him. Orndorff, they got right above him. Hart did it to an extent that he would drop the elbow, but Bret Hart did. These guys would turn their wrist and they would drop that forearm right on the meaty part of their chest. I like that. It was just the way they beat a guy up without hurting him, kind of like a Steve William or Steve Regal, whichever one, He just beat a guy up. But hitting them in the meaty part, like forearms across the back, forearms across the chest, just the way he would do that. And then when the babyface was making a comeback, to way to sell away, to where you're not that big of a chicken shit, but you're also, oh man, I'm getting my ass whipped, and it looked like, oh, the babyface is whipping my ass, because that's his time to shine. You've got the heat on him. Like I said, you referees told you to break, and maybe you do out of that hip, out of the abdominal stretch. Okay, here's a good example. Slater's got you in an abdominal stretch, and he's reaching back and grabbing that rope. So he's like, oh my God, referee's ripping my guts out. Bobby, get him off of me, get him off. And the referee would check the ropes and let's go of it. And Slater's got that growl of a face anyway, so he's, ugh. And when he clinches in again, a referee goes around and asks him, do you submit? And Slater reached back and grabbed that rope, like, ugh. And the guy would know to sell you more. Oh, my God, Bobby, he's ripping my guts out. He's killing me, whatever. And then when he finally does make it, the referee comes around, catches him. The babyface just gives a little bit of a hip toss, just a little bit of one. And because he's been stretched, his abdominals hurt, his back's hurt, his thighs. Well, so Slater would immediately come back out of it because it's not a big sell, and immediately get right back on that baby face again, and bam, 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 and go right back to working that gut or working the head or working the arm, whatever he's doing. I just like that. I know I went around the world to cross the street there, but yeah, just those little things. That some attention to detail, if you will. Slater had that, a little bit of attention to detail when he was beating someone up or when he was giving that person to come back to take that beating he had coming to him, in the ring as a heel. It's just attention to detail. Overselling, if you will, but not to the point of looking goofy or phony. Well, he might look a bit goofy, but not phony. How's that, But yeah, kind of that goofiness of to come back too, wobbling his legs, sitting flat on your ass, lining up your arms, little things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I have one other thing I want to shout out, Saul. But other than that, we need to talk about anything else other than. Again, you can find us both on Twitter at Jeremy's at the Geekish Cast. I'm at Bobby Blaze 744, and you can hit us up to Bell Blaze. Let us know what you think about the program. We've got some different ideas that's come through from some of our fans, and we do listen to those and take some of those in consideration. And also let us know what you think about the possible name change. I'm kind of on board with it, Professor, just so you know. I like the Marquee Says, but I understand, or the Marquee Still Says, but I know that's a lot of words there. But it still says wrestling, folks. Still says wrestling.
Yeah. This is kind of funny. I was just kind of scrolling through our Twitter feed after you talked about our joint account. Mm-hmm. And Sparks has a thing here where it says he will cut a bitch, and then he sources it to us. But there's like Gary Hart and Abdullah the Butcher just whipping ass in the center of the ring, beating people bloody with kendo sticks.
Yeah.
That's oh, you see, that's going to have to be a shirt one day. That's all there is to it. Yeah. So, Bobby, we did not, and we often forget too. Let's sell a couple books, man.
Oh yeah. Okay. We got to do that. I've got a couple books on Amazon, and the way the professor has it set up, if you go through the tiny URLs I'm about to give out, the program gets a little bit of a kickback, and we appreciate that. So my first book is called Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots, Will Travel. You can get that book by going to tinyurl.com/blazebook1. Very simple. Takes you right to the site, and there you can get your book. The second book, I kicked out on two, The Educational Wrestler. You just go to tinyurl.com/blazebook2. And again, it'll take you right to the books there. And from there, it's just a direct link to Amazon is all it is. And again, I always enjoy selling a book, and I know the professor looks forward to getting some money deposited into his Amazon account. And if you know anything about books and Amazon affiliates account stuff, it's not a lot of money, so it's not like we're right here begging and all that from you. We're just letting you know that if you buy these books, we do appreciate it. Again, both books are available on Amazon, but if you go to tinyurl.com/blazebook1, you'll get Pin Me, Pay Me. If you go to tinyurl.com/blazebook2, you'll get I Kicked Out on 2. Thank you very much for that. I'm glad you brought that up, Professor, because I leave that off sometimes, and I leave it out of our format sometimes when we're formatting our program. Yeah. So I appreciate you putting that in there.
Well, it's one of the primary reasons we're here, and somehow it's when we're going to leave something off, it's always that for some reason.
Yeah, I know. We got to put ourselves over sometimes.
Exactly.
Putting people over real quickly, I want to give a shout out to FTC, the School of Grappling, the Art of Grappling. want to make sure they know that I appreciate them. I stopped by the other night and watched some of the students. Got to see the beautiful and talented Jillian Hall there. She's one of the instructors. She's doing a wonderful job. Of course, big WWE star. Appreciate her working with the young people over there. Joe, the wrestling agent, man, he's just a good dude. He's the one kind of putting these things together for FTC, and him and I, from the first day we met, we did a handshake deal, and we just been straight up with each other. It's really worked out good. And then Casey King was there, and Casey's just one of those good dudes that he's got a lot of potential in the wrestling business. He's a young guy, got a good build, and can do a lot of different things in the ring. And he's been working with the students some as well, and also we're looking to get future bookings. He's went to several different seminars, and him and Joe and Chance and Chase, they're all going to some different seminars that are coming up, and I wish them all the best of luck when they do those things. I think Casey is going to be doing some Ohio Valley TV in the near future as well, and I wish him luck in that endeavor. Yeah. During the talks, I know that much, and I hope that comes through because I'd like to see him get down there in Louisville and work for Al and see him get a little bit of a shot, get some experience and get that TV experience, if you will. Yeah. He's done some backstage stuff with TNA prior to this pandemic, so hopefully he can get back into there as well as Ohio Valley and get that exposure he deserves. So, and that's what that school is over there trying to, help people get trained in the wrestling business. So I want to give them a shout out and being respectful and kind to me, and I appreciate that. And again, that's the FTC. And when things get back normal in the world, hopefully they'll run some more shows, Jeremy, that I can get out and go to, as we was talking about out off the air. I talked to my brother and Larry the other day. We just want to get out and go to some shows sometime, but right now it's not the time. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that eventually. And we'll just have to see. We'll have to see.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of pent up artists who have not, not been able to get out and work is one of the problems we got.
Yeah.
So hopefully, this shit will be coming to an end soon, and the people that are, bucking and ready to go.
I've heard concerts, may be coming back. Live music concerts may be coming back. I know it's a big thing this week on Twitter. I saw that just people artists getting excited that they may be able to go out and perform their art, perform music. Yeah, that'd be nice. And as we was talking off the air, I think we both had our first shot. I know we're both going to do our second shot. I know we've talked about we're still going to probably wear our mask and probably still social distance and wash our hands and just take care of ourselves,
Well, you will notice there was no flu season this last year.
Yeah. I thought about that Thursday or Friday night. I was sitting there reading an article and I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there was no flu season this year because, the majority of people are keeping their distance. They're washing their hands. They're wearing masks. So, we normally have a pretty nasty flu season during the winter. We did not get one this year. Now, that being said, once this shit's over, I don't see myself wearing a mask once we're at 95%, 95% clear, I just, I'm not the Green Hornet. It's not a good look for me.
Oh, man, I hear you there. Yeah. I hear you, man. Hey, man, I tell you what, that Green Hornet, I watched that. There's actually every episode's on YouTube, man.
Really?
Underrated. Yeah, they've got it from season 1 all the way through. I think it only lasted a couple seasons, like 24 episodes maybe. But in color, comes through really good. It's looks real good. And I always liked those. I was a Batman fan, and I always liked when. And we talked about this. We didn't bring it up last week, as a matter of fact. When they did the crossover with the Green Hornet came on to Batman and vice versa. Yeah. And you had a story about Burt Ward and Kato, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
So
there was apparently in the original script. Now you'll remember in the Batman side of the crossover, it ends with a Mexican standoff, basically. Well, originally Batman was supposed to beat the shit out of the Green Hornet, and Robin was supposed to beat the shit out of Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee got the script. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to say Bruce Lee was a bit of a hothead in his day, but there are people who will say that. So he read the script and he said, no fucking way. And he was going to go beat the shit out of He was going to go beat the shit out of Burt Ward.
Mm-hmm.
And Burt Ward apparently wouldn't come out of his cabin or his trailer the rest of the day. And, you know, I can't blame him. And I have met Burt Ward once, and I can tell you from that occasion, I wish Bruce Lee had kicked his ass. You know,
I know that Burt Ward supposedly talked about how good he was in karate around the set sometimes, but that particular couple of episodes, he pretty much kept his mouth shut and stayed away, like you said. And I've heard, and you may know or may not know, but I've heard they had to slow it down some because Bruce Lee was so fast. They like, the choreography of the pows, booms, and bams, and bangs, and the whams. Let's slow it down just a little bit, because you know them other guys are not keeping up. You know what I'm saying? There's no way Van Williams and Burt Ward and Adam West are keeping up that fucking Bruce Lee as Kato. You know, no one's keeping up him on tape, you know, or off camera either way. You know what I'm saying?
Bruce Lee's hands and feet were so fast, he usually had to slow down because the camera would miss him sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You know, he was ridiculously fast. Now, Bobby, here's an interesting thing for you. Do you know another character who is related to the Green Hornet?
Oh, I'm going to probably hit myself in the head when you tell me. I do, but I don't. You're taking me way far back on both of those series. You know, I'm like, but because I'm such a young fan, a kid, and just a fan. But yeah, go ahead, lay it on me.
So you got to keep in mind that Britt Reed was the Green Hornet, and his family had a silver mine, so they published a newspaper, right?
Right.
Well, John Reed was a man in Texas who a couple years before that, 50, 60 years before, he and his brother were chasing the Cavendish gang when they were gunned down and left for dead. And John Reed then wore his brother's vest as a mask and became known as the Lone Ranger, where he used his silver mine to create silver bullets.
Oh, man, I should have known that. Mm-hmm. Wow. There you go, man. Good stuff. Well, that's what you get when you listen to the Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. But it still says wrestling. We did talk about a lot of wrestling, but we also do. So here's the thing. I don't think we tried to hold back too much on the curse words this week, but I don't know we said as many. But I know we're explicit. But the deal is, on our show, I like to think that we do talk professional wrestling, entertainment, comedy, and have a good time, and we don't shit on other people, So I think we got a pretty good formula working for us. We just may change that title a little bit, And I don't know why you came up with that, but I'm definitely not against it. I like it. It's just I want to make sure that we keep increasing our followers, because I do think we have a good format out there, a good podcast to deliver. But with 9 million podcasts a week, what do you choose from? I mean, I watch several on YouTube if they're available on YouTube. Now, listen to several. Only a couple non-wrestling related ones, but man, I spend a lot of time on podcasts. I do some streaming and some reading and some writing and podcasting. That's in our podcast, of course, getting some research together. But anyway, I don't know. I know this much. I wanted to bring this up. I hope everyone had a good time last week on the Jeopardy episode. That was fun. And I hope everyone enjoyed our deep dive into the career of Dick Slater. He did pass away at the age of 67 a couple years back. I think he's been dead a couple years, about 3 years now, maybe. But anyway, we wanted to just kind of let some of our fans know, about Slater and his career. And really, Jeremy, I think we're about ready to wind down here, man. We just kind of went off the rails there a little bit, talking some entertainment stuff from our youth or childhood, if you will, and superheroes that we liked, or what have you. Heroes or cartoons or shows. And I just want to say this. I don't know if it's going to happen next week or not, because we're talking about It Still Says Wrestling. We have a possible couple author interviews with an author of a book. We may or may not bring on a show. We're just kicking that around. Another one is we've got a TV kind of trivia type. A certain year we're going to bring up and do some I don't know. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that, but that sounds like fun. We kind of ended the program with that today, talking about some shows from the 60s, just some sitcoms and movies and, different things like that. Just, again, it's just, I don't know, it's for your entertainment value purposes only, you know what I'm saying? Ours as well, but, however you say that thing. Don't try this at home. If you do, have fun with it,
Yeah, we're trained professionals, and don't do this at home.
Yeah.
Don't try podcasting from home.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. All right, we might get a studio in Vegas together or something when this whole thing passes. Who knows? We all might make big changes.
Changes.
Might be time to go fishing. Might just be time to go fishing.
We'll buy a Chinese restaurant on the Strip and we'll broadcast from there daily. That's what.
There you go. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That'd be all right.
Yeah, I can certainly figure worse things. All right. So, Bobby, we tried a different way to record today, so we'll see how that all came out. We covered Dick Slater. Yeah, we know there are troubling things about him. That's not the fucking show we do, so we just tried to focus on his career.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. We are possibly changing the name of the show because I wanted to get the word wrestling into the title to make us easier to find for people who are looking for wrestling podcasts. Because right now I don't know if people are searching for bells in podcasting. I just don't know. With that all being said, was there anything we forgot to cover? Because we did have some trouble recording today, so we're kind of fucked up as far as that goes too.
Yeah. No, I think we got everything covered. I'm just going to let you close out the show. I'm just going to say, wrestling fans, thank you very much for tuning in. Please, make sure you follow us on Twitter and get us out there. We're on iTunes and Spotify and all that. Let your friends and wrestling fans and family and friends and stuff, whatever, talk about. Let other people know about our program, I think without patting ourselves on the back, we got a pretty damn decent program. Let's just get the word out there and let other people know about us.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, I'm talking to you. Please subscribe to the show wherever you normally find us, or if this is your first time, make sure you continue to follow us. Please rate and review us wherever you listen. Bobby, I did want to bring up real quick. Did you see that Jushin Thunder Liger is in the Hall of Fame class this year?
Yes, you brought that to my attention.
Yeah, because of all those great WWF matches we know of his.
Yeah, I remember all of them.
Yeah.
No, he's well deserved as a professional wrestling to be any Hall of Fame in the world. I'll say that. But it is what it is, and we know we left off several that we could have brought up. Again, we just didn't bring them up today. But congratulations to Jushin Thunder Liger. I just don't know. Why he's in that particular Hall of Fame, although it's deservedly so in any Hall of Fame, but it's for ticket sales, we know what it is.
Yeah, he definitely qualifies, but
Did he? That's the whole thing. Did he even work there one day? I know he had tryouts there, but I don't think he ever I think I'll go there. No.
I don't know. Well, and they use this as like such a political toy too, to solidify their hold over the AWA and its tapes and stuff. They put the Gagnes in, and same with the Von Erichs, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's a thing where you Google wrestling, but what you get is WWE. You don't get wrestling, All right. Well, with that being said, for the late Tex Johnson, myself, Professor Jeremy Vollmer, and Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B Bobby Blaze. Bye-bye, everybody.